Elena's heart sank as she approached the lawyer's office. The past few months had been a whirlwind of pain and confusion, but she never imagined things could get worse. She was wrong. The will reading began, and Elena's eyes darted around, taking in the somber faces of her family members. The lawyer cleared his throat, his expression unreadable. "Lawyer, I'm afraid I have some unexpected news. According to the most recent version of the will, Elena has been disinherited." The words hit her like a physical blow. Elena couldn't breathe. The room erupted into chaos, accusations flying like daggers. "Mother, there must be some mistake. My mother would never do this to Elena." As the reality sank in, Elena felt a deep, aching pain in her chest. She had lost her entire inheritance. The financial security she had counted on, the future she had planned, all gone in an instant. She thought about the recent string of misfortunes in her life. It couldn't be a coincidence. Elena's mind raced to the inheritance dispute statistics she had recently read. Approximately 70% of families experience some form of inheritance dispute, and around 10% of all wills are contested due to allegations of forgery or undue influence. She never imagined her family would be part of those statistics. The lawyer produced a document, sliding it across the table. "Lawyer, this is the addendum to the will, signed by your grandmother 6 months ago." Elena's eyes widened as she saw her own signature at the bottom of the page. But that was impossible. She never signed anything like this. The truth dawned on her like a cold, creeping fog. Someone had forged her name. But who would do such a thing, and why? Elena's gaze drifted to her sister Sophia, sitting quietly in the corner. A chill ran down Elena's spine as she remembered how Sophia had always lived in her shadow, always second best. Could her own sister be capable of such betrayal? As the meeting drew to a close, Elena felt numb. She gathered her things, barely registering the sympathetic glances and hushed whispers around her. Stepping out onto the busy street, her mind reeled from the day's events. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much darker. Elena's thoughts turned to the potential legal ramifications of contesting the will. She recalled reading that families involved in inheritance litigation can spend upwards of $100,000 on legal fees. The prospect of such a financial burden, on top of losing her inheritance, made her feel dizzy and overwhelmed. The emotional impact hit Elena like a tidal wave. She felt betrayed, angry, and profoundly sad. Research indicated that individuals who feel unjustly excluded from an inheritance often experience these emotions, which can lead to long-term psychological issues such as depression and anxiety. Elena wondered if she was destined for the same fate. As she approached her apartment building, Elena's mind drifted to a case study she had read about siblings contesting their father's will. The protracted legal battle had not only drained their financial resources, but also irreparably damaged their relationships, leading to years of estrangement. Elena shuddered at the thought of her own family being torn apart in a similar manner. Elena stumbled into her apartment, her mind reeling from the day's revelations. Elena stumbled into her apartment, her mind reeling from the day's revelations. As she collapsed onto her couch, a familiar scent tickled her nose. Her heart stopped. Why did this perfume suddenly feel so significant? She closed her eyes, trying to piece together the strange events of the past few months. The scent lingered in the air, teasing her memory. She'd smelled it before, but where? Elena's mind raced through a kaleidoscope of faces and places. A vivid flashback hit her like a tidal wave. Last Christmas, the family gathered around the tree. Laughter, the clink of glasses, and that perfume. Sophia standing just behind her, watching. The memory faded, leaving Elena breathless. Her eyes snapped open. She grabbed her phone, fingers trembling as she scrolled through her photo gallery. There, in the background of nearly every picture, was a familiar face. Her sister Sophia, always present, always watching. Elena's breath caught in her throat as realization dawned. Could it be? The thought sent a chill down her spine. Elena's hands shook as she dialed Sophia's number, her heart pounding in her ears. The call went straight to voicemail, and Elena's suspicions grew darker with each unanswered ring. As she lowered the phone, Elena's gaze fell on a framed photo of her and Sophia from years ago. They were smiling, arms around each other, looking every bit the picture of sisterly love. But now, Elena saw something different in Sophia's eyes. A glimmer of, what? Resentment? Jealousy? Elena's mind raced back to their childhood. Sophia had always lived in her shadow, hadn't she? While Elena excelled in school and extracurriculars, Sophia seemed to fade into the background. Elena had never thought much of it before, but now... She picked up the photo, studying it closely. The familiar scent wafted up from the frame, and suddenly, everything clicked into place. Elena realized with a sickening jolt that her sister's perfume matched the one she'd smelled on Mark's collar. Elena's world tilted on its axis. Could Sophia have been behind everything? The lost job, the failed engagement, the contested inheritance? It seemed impossible, and yet... She thought back to Dr. Jane McGregor's words about toxic sibling rivalry. How victims of such dynamics could unconsciously seek out similar patterns in their adult relationships. Had Sophia been playing out some twisted form of revenge all this time? Elena's mind reeled with the implications. She'd always thought of her relationship with Sophia as normal, maybe even close. But now, every interaction, every shared moment, felt tainted by suspicion. She closed her eyes, trying to recall the scent of Sophia's perfume. It was more than just a fragrance now. It was a key, unlocking memories and connections she'd never made before. The power of sensory recall hit her like a punch to the gut, flooding her with emotions and half-forgotten moments. Elena stood up, pacing her apartment. She felt like a detective in her own life, piecing together clues she should have seen long ago. The perfume, once a comforting reminder of family, now felt like a sinister presence lurking in every corner. Elena stood up, pacing her apartment. She felt like a detective in her own life, piecing together clues she should have seen long ago. The perfume, once a comforting reminder of family, now felt like a sinister presence lurking in every corner. She picked up her phone again, thumb hovering over Sophia's contact. Should she confront her directly, or was it better to gather more evidence first? Elena's mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. Her heart hammered in her chest, and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead as the weight of this first real clue settled over her. Elena's finger hovered over the call button, but a sudden wave of memories crashed over her. These weren't the warm, fuzzy recollections she'd always clung to. No, these memories carried a chill that made her blood run cold. What dark truths had been hiding in plain sight all along? Elena's finger hovered over the call button, but a sudden wave of memories crashed over her. These weren't the warm, fuzzy recollections she'd always clung to. No, these memories carried a chill that made her blood run cold. What dark truths had been hiding in plain sight all along? She closed her eyes, trying to steady her breathing. Long-buried memories began to surface, each one seeming to whisper a warning she'd ignored for far too long. Elena's mind drifted back to their shared past, but now those memories took on a sinister new light. Growing up, Elena and Sophia had been inseparable, like two vines intertwined. But as Elena's mind wandered through the corridors of her childhood, she realized their growth hadn't been equal. Awards, accolades, parental praise, all of it seemed to gravitate towards Elena. She remembered the proud smiles on her parents' faces when she brought home another perfect report card, the way they beamed when she won the school spelling bee. And where was Sophia during all of this? Elena's heart sank as she recalled her sister's presence in these moments. Sophia always stood in the background, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. In retrospect, Elena saw something darker in those memories, a growing resentment that had taken root in her sister's heart. As they grew older, Sophia's comments became sharper, more bitter. Sophia, "Oh, of course Elena got the lead in the school play. Why even bother auditioning when perfect Elena's around?" Elena had laughed it off, chalking it up to normal sibling rivalry. How wrong she had been. Now, Elena realized a pattern had emerged. Every triumph for Elena seemed to coincide with a setback for Sophia. When Elena was accepted into her dream college, Sophia's application to the same school was rejected. When Elena landed her first big job out of university, Sophia was let go from hers. Even in matters of the heart, Elena's relationships flourished while Sophia's crumbled. This wasn't sibling rivalry. It was a lifelong pattern of resentment that had festered and grown into something monstrous. The realization hit her like ice water. Sophia hadn't just been jealous or competitive. Sophia had always hated her. Dr. Jane McGregor's words echoed in Elena's mind. The sociologist had highlighted how being a victim of toxic sibling rivalry could lead individuals to unconsciously seek out similar dynamics in their adult relationships. Elena's heart raced as she thought about her own relationships, both personal and professional. Had she been interpreting manipulative behaviors as normal all this time? She thought about the studies showing how children who perceive favoritism from parents towards one sibling often develop feelings of resentment and hostility. These feelings could persist into adulthood, affecting relationships with both siblings and peers. Had their parents unknowingly set this destructive cycle in motion? Elena's mind whirled with the implications. The dynamics of their sibling rivalry had created a cycle of resentment where Elena's successes led to feelings of inadequacy in Sophia. But instead of addressing these feelings, Sophia had allowed them to fester and grow into something dark and twisted. Elena's heart ached as she realized how much damage had been done, not just to her own life but to Sophia's as well. Their unresolved conflicts had left them both struggling with emotional regulation, manifesting as increased emotional distress and lower levels of life satisfaction. Elena's throat tightened as the puzzle pieces began to snap into place. What if those unresolved conflicts weren't just childhood squabbles, but part of a much darker design? Her hands trembled as she scrolled through her phone, each message and photo taking on a sinister new meaning. Elena's throat tightened as the puzzle pieces began to snap into place. What if those unresolved conflicts weren't just childhood squabbles, but part of a much darker design? Her hands trembled as she scrolled through her phone, each message and photo taking on a sinister new meaning. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Sophia hadn't just been drifting away all these years. She'd been carefully orchestrating Elena's downfall. Elena's stomach churned as she connected the invisible threads woven around her life. Every disaster, every heartbreak bore Sophia's invisible fingerprints. Elena's mind raced through years of supposed coincidences, seeing them now for what they truly were, a meticulously crafted web of manipulation. The workplace sabotage suddenly made sense. Sophia had maintained friendships with Elena's colleagues, planting seeds of doubt and whispering poison into the right ears. Elena felt a wave of nausea as she recalled the unexplained tension with co-workers and missed promotions. Mark's affair came into sharp focus. Elena's heart clenched as she remembered Sophia's flirting at family gatherings. Those lingering touches, those private jokes, they'd been the groundwork for betrayal. Elena's eyes widened as she realized how expertly Sophia had exploited her marital vulnerabilities. But it was the forged will that made Elena's world spin. Sophia had always had access to family documents. She'd known exactly where to find the original, how to replicate Elena's signature. The addendum that cut Elena out of her inheritance was Sophia's ultimate act of revenge. Elena felt physically ill as the magnitude of the betrayal washed over her. She stumbled to the bathroom, barely making it in time as her stomach heaved. As she slumped against the cool tile floor, tears streaming down her face, Elena couldn't help but think of Dr. Jane McGregor's words about toxic sibling rivalry. Manipulators within families often maintain their facades through charm and emotional intelligence, Dr. McGregor had explained. They appear caring and supportive while secretly undermining others. That was Sophia to a T, always the supportive sister on the surface, always there with a shoulder to cry on. But beneath that caring facade, she'd been meticulously dismantling Elena's life piece by piece. Elena's mind reeled as she considered the depth of Sophia's deception. This wasn't just about petty jealousy or sibling competition. This was something far more insidious. Dr. McGregor's research had shown that siblings who engage in elaborate revenge plots often do so as a response to perceived favoritism or neglect from parents. Had that been the root of all this? Elena tried to remember their childhood, to see it through Sophia's eyes. The awards, the accolades, the proud parental smiles, had they all come at Sophia's expense? Had every triumph for Elena truly coincided with a setback for Sophia? Elena felt a wave of nausea as she realized how blind she'd been. She'd dismissed Sophia's bitterness as normal sibling rivalry, never seeing the deep-seated issues festering beneath the surface. Dr. McGregor's words echoed in her mind. Sibling manipulation can stem from deep-seated issues such as jealousy, personality disorders, and unresolved family conflicts, which can create a toxic environment. As the truth sank in, Elena knew she had to confront her sister. This web of lies and manipulation couldn't continue, but as she struggled to her feet, wiping the tears from her face, Elena felt a strange mix of anger and pity. Sophia had orchestrated years of pain and betrayal.
Why do 90% of mystery fans crave suspenseful twists? Let's find out. And that's it for today's story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you love suspense, mystery, and intriguing stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. And hey, the journey doesn't end here. Click on the next video right here to dive into another thrilling story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.